afternoon, good evening. Hope you guys are all feeling good after that breath and breathing practice. My name is Tracy, Dr. Tracy Lambre. I'm a longtime resident of the South Side of Chicago. I'm also a cultural historian and ethnomusicologist of Black American music, particularly the Chicago and Kansas City traditions. I'm going to offer some historical and cultural context throughout today's performance of Black classical music that springs from Chicago's Black musical heritage. Oftentimes, we think of classical music outside of the expressions of African American music traditions. But in major US cities, especially Chicago, classical music thrived in the Black communities. It's a little known fact, but following the end of slavery in the United States, Black leaders, politicians, educators, they emphasized the study of classical music for young Black children. Members of the Black community believe that the study of European classical music would enhance intellectual development, so African Americans incorporated the study and performance of classical music into the school music programs at the K through 12 levels, as well as the university level, particularly in the historically Black colleges and universities known as HBCUs. In that, Chicago became a hub for Black classical musicians due to its unique cultural infrastructure that started with the Chicago Musical College. Many of you probably will know it now as Roosevelt University. But during the early 20th century, a time when African Americans weren't permitted in most parts of the country to attend colleges and universities with white students, the Chicago Musical College permitted Black students to study. Many of these musicians became great composers, which included Major N. Clark Smith, who started many community music programs in Chicago for Black residents. And he also started the music program at Wendell Phillips High School, Chicago's first Black high school. Nora Holt, Florence Price, and Betty Jackson King also attended the Chicago Musical College. The school also attracted another great Black composer, William Dawson. In Chicago, it uniquely brought to life the National Association of Negro Musicians, also referred to as NAM. With its first branch in Chicago, the Chicago Music Association, it was founded in 1919 as a national organization with the goal of unifying the standard of music education in schools and communities of African Americans. The goal was also to increase performance opportunities across all genres of Black music, but particularly classical music. Through its Wanamaker Prize contest, the National Association of Negro Musicians, National Composers Competition, it helped Major N. Clark Smith, William Dawson, Margaret Bonds, and Florence Price to gain national recognition, where they were all among the first African Americans to have their works performed by major symphonies and philharmonics. I prefer to think that that happened because of Chicago. The city's Chicago Musical College and the local branches of the National Association of Negro Musicians being founded and based here shaped the national impact for Black classical music scene. Today, we'll hear the music of pioneers of Chicago's Black classical music traditions, who mostly happen to be women and who were all from the South Side. And they participated in developing this infrastructure. But first, I want to share a bit about these pioneering women. Nora Holt was born in 1885. She was born under the name of Lena Douglas in Kansas City, Kansas. She was mentored at a little-known historically Black college in Kansas City, Kansas, known as Western University, that has been defunct since the 1940s. She studied at Western University under Major N. Clark Smith. She came to Chicago to attend the Chicago Musical College to become the first African American in the United States to complete a master's degree in music in 1918. She was a classical pianist, music composer, and cultural critic. She began her career with the Chicago Defender in 1917 as the paper's very first music critic. As I mentioned, she was one of the co-founders of the National Association of Negro Musicians. She lived in Harlem during the Renaissance and traveled extensively across Europe to China and Japan, studying, composing, and appearing in concert. Her compositions, which carried Black folk themes, included works for orchestra, chorus, voice, and various instruments, where the master vocalist, Roland Hayes, performed several of her compositions for voice. Holt's efforts as a music critic to organize the National Association of Negro Musicians had a tremendous impact nationally on Black cultural expression for over years, promoting the careers and works of Black classical, for over 100 years, by promoting the careers and works of Black classical musicians. Our next musician that we're honored today is Florence Price. Florence Price was born Florence Price Smith in 1887 in Little Rock, Arkansas. She was a classical composer, pianist, organist, and music teacher. She was educated at the New England Conservatory of Music, where in order to do so in that time, she claimed that she was Mexican-American, not African-American. She arrived in Chicago in 1927, fleeing racial violence in her hometown of Little Rock, Arkansas, and she became very active then on the Chicago music scene. It is in Chicago where this very talented Price sprouted her wings to become noted as the first African-American woman to be recognized as a symphonic composer. Not that there weren't others, but she was the first to be recognized, and the first to have a composition played by a major orchestra. She composed over 300 works, 4 symphonies, 4 concertos, as well as choral works, art songs, chamber music, music for solo instruments. She was active in this city until her death in 1953. Her final resting place is here in the Chicago area. It was in Price's abandoned summer home nearby Kankakee, where in 2009, a substantial collection of her works and papers were found. This has led to a resurgence of her works being performed around the country and the globe, just as we are going to experience today. Margaret Bonds. Margaret Bonds was born in 1913 here in Chicago. She was a musical prodigy and the daughter of Estella Bonds, an organist that fostered this Black classical music community by holding salon performances in her home. Estella Bonds opened her home to Florence Price after she left her husband. This allowed Price to mentor the young Margaret Bonds. Margaret also studied with the composer William Dawson. She attended Northwestern University, but was not permitted to live or use the facilities, meaning that she couldn't even use the library. But that did not stop her. Margaret's compositional career took off after her song, The Sea Ghost, won first prize in the song category of the Wanamaker Prize competition in 1932, alongside her mentor and former teacher, Florence Price, who won first prize in the symphonic and piano sonata categories. Bonds received her master's degree in music from Northwestern, as well as her bachelor's degree in 1934. That same year, she became the first African-American to perform with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, and she was the featured pianist for the Women's Symphony Orchestra of Chicago's performance of Price's Piano Concerto of D minor. She showed Northwestern. Last one, Betty Jackson King was a pianist, music educator, choral director, and tremendous composer. Her father, a pastor, founded the People's Community Church in center of Woodlawn. Her mother, Gertrude Jackson Taylor, founded the Imperial Opera Company and the Jackson Institute. Born in Chicago in 1928, Jackson King attended Chicago public schools and became widely known to Chicagoans at a young age because she sang with the Jacksonian Trio with her sisters and mothers, touring extensively through the South and the Midwest. She later attended the Chicago Musical College, where she received her bachelor's and master's degree in 1950 and 52. In Chicago, she served choirs such as Quinn Chapel AME, and she was an educator at Roosevelt University, Dillard University, the University of Chicago Laboratory School, and the Jacksonian Institute, and other institutions. She also taught in Wildwood, New Jersey, where she became the chairman of the music department, public schools. From 1980 to 85, she served as the president of the National Association of Negro Musicians. With these details, it's just to reinforce that Chicago's Black classical music history is really responsible for having trained many music superstars thanks to the works and efforts of these women. Some of those superstars included renowned Chicagoans such as jazz and popular singer Nat King Cole, vibraphonist Lionel Hampton, the great pianist Herbie Hancock, R&B star Shaka Khan, as well as Jennifer Hudson and many other classical musicians and singers. Nora Holt, Florence Price, Margaret Bonds, and Betty Jackson King were instrumental in cementing Chicago as a space for Black classical musicians to grow and learn. These women sought racial equality, gender equality, and they pursued it through their tremendous musical efforts, whether in composition, performance, creating professional organizations, or in the media, or better yet, their sheer determination in a time that was especially hostile to them as women.